All right, now we're recording. All right, we are just after the top of the hour, and we have got Omar from Boardwalk Wealth here with us today to talk about him and his team. And Omar, I will toss it over to you here in just a second. As with anytime we have a webinar, I would encourage everybody to use the Q&A. If you have any questions, just type your questions in there. Alternatively, if you want, Omar and I were just talking. He's open with this being an open dialogue and an open question and answer session too. So if you want to raise your hand, if you want to come off mute, just raise your hand. There should be a little icon there that you can raise your hand, and I'll call on you when we get to a good point. And otherwise, throw your questions in the Q&A. And also, Omar, I might have you copy pasted again your email and website in the chat, just in case that didn't come through before we opened. There we go. All right, that should be out there for everyone. So without any further delay, Omar, I will toss it over to you. You should be able to share your screen, and I'll hop back on if there's any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful for and privileged to talk to y'all. So look, I'm going to go through our company history and all of that stuff, but I always feel on these webinars, because we've done a lot of these, that it's better to have a more interactive session where people ask questions, because at the end of the day, really, look, I mean, in real estate, a lot of times we're in a commodified industry. What really differs is a company's approach to execution on their business plan, how deep their bench strength and talents are, and then have they put the right people in the right seats. So that's why I always encourage, look, we're going to go through all of this. We can do all of that song and dance sequence, but questions from investors and potential people, that's where I think the real value y'all will get as well. So let's go. Let's share my screen. Oh, that's a beautiful Billings, Montana. Ryan and I were looking where he lives, and he lives in a pretty cool place. So anyways, so look, for us, we've always defined what we do as opportunistic in nature. So this basically means that we do value add as well as development deals. And what we feel is, look, that's when you have to be opportunistic, means that there has to be a lot of meat on the bone. Now, this is what's very interesting, because I'm coming from the investment banking and capital markets world. What I always find funny is guys say they're going to do value add, but they're trying to do a deal every 2 months or every 1 month, right? And you're like, well, you can't be opportunistic and be programmatic. Programmatic is doing things every 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever it is. So that's why we feel the real juice for investors is in being opportunistic. And what we try to focus on are markets that are basically not ultra hard markets like the Phoenixes or the Austins or the Tampas, because those markets are great during boom times. But as history has shown, it's a pretty steep decline. And a lot of guys are finding this out the hard way in Phoenix, in Austin. I live in Dallas, so we have lots of friends in all these places. In Tampa's, that it's easy come and you can show very high returns. But on the exit, sometimes it can be very, very, very painful unwinding these transactions. So look, we can share a copy of this with Ryan and the team, but we've done over $400 million of transactions. It's closer to 500. This is a bit older. We have transacted over 2,200 units across value add deals as well as development deals. Net IRR returns over our history are about 20%, 19.4%. And typically on acquisitions, we keep we underwrite to a 5-year holding period. We typically keep around, say, give or take, say 3.5 years, 3 years, give or take. Again, why do we do that? Because we like to refinance, we like to reduce our risk, and we're not really trying to flip. Again, over here, see, this is me. That handsome guy on the straight face is me, Omar Khan. My background is in capital markets, M&A, capital financing. I'm a CFA charter holder as well. For those of y'all that don't know, CFA is basically the gold standard in portfolio and risk management. So having that academic as well as professional background institutionally, I feel really helps us basically in understanding, not just trying to do deals and make returns. Our first focus is always, well, how do we reduce the risk in a deal, right? Because a lot of times I feel in retail investors are so used to talking about returns. Nobody really talks about risk minimization, understanding of the various aspects of risks, and how to basically mitigate that. Because what we try to do is look over the course of a business cycle, which is typically 7 to 10 years, and see, look, how do we make money over the business cycle? Not like, buy a property, flip it. We got to look at the long-term view. So this is why risk management is central to our company. Here's just some of the people that I have the privilege of working within our team. We've got a lot more people than this. Marilyn is our controller. Eric is our investor relations, but also chief of staff. Sadia is one of our investor relations person. Great. Miles is a gun at operations, and Sean is in our marketing communications. We've got other people on our team as well, but just wanted to show. And the reason why we like to highlight this is because we like to tell people, look, when you entrust your hard-earned money to somebody, you need to not just look at the deal. Number one, what you need to look at are the people that you're giving your money to, and what is their team around them. And the team can't just be a bunch of real estate guys, as an example, or girls, right? They've got to be people that are really good at accounting. They've got to be people that are really good at capital markets and loans and all of that sort of stuff. There are people that have to be really good at operations, really good at sales, really good at marketing. Because if you're lacking in any level over here in any of these verticals, it's going to be really painful. And the good times can hide some of that, right? I mean, if you're really not that good at marketing, but you flip a property, you can probably make money. But as a lot of people are finding this out the hard way, if your talent stack isn't fully filled up with the right professionals, when the market turns like it's turning right now, bad things happen to good people. And we want to avoid that. Like, as I mentioned, risk is at the core of what we do. So now we've got a couple of strategic partners here. They're just a sampling of them. We work with a gamut of people. Now, one thing is that the slide isn't updated because the fourth state that we're very active in is Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'll get to that in a second, but we like to focus on the Sun Belt and now in the Midwest. And the reason for that is very simple. There is an adequate push of people, both from a population-wise, jobs-wise, but income growth-wise as well. People are moving. That's the biggest thing. But high-quality jobs are also moving. So in select markets in Texas, Georgia, Florida, and South Dakota, we are basically operating. Now for us, because we are, say, sector-specific specialists, right? We don't do, say, multifamily and hotels and office and retail. We'll just do multifamily and development and value add acquisition. So for us, understanding our niche, playing within our sandbox is very important because, again, that helps us to not only identify the right deals, when we are doing those deals, we are also able to identify, okay, how do I reduce the amount of risk in these projects to as low as possible? Now, going into this, look, I'm not going to bore you guys with our track record. We'll send you this presentation. You can look at it at your comfort. But again, our sold deals, like I mentioned, are roughly about 19.4% track record. But what I tell people is, look, the true hallmark of a company that's actually professional is for you to see their pipeline. Because what that tells you basically is, how are they looking in the future? Because if you entrust your money to somebody, you have a good manager, you don't want this to be a one and done thing if you're doing this professionally. What you want to do is not only see a manager's track record, but what you also want to see is, well, how is the manager and the sponsor looking into the future? What things are they analyzing? Do they have a specific strategy that says better than the other strategies that you're looking at? So like I said, acquisitions is one vertical of our firm. It's about 70%. But on the development angle of things, we highlighted Sioux Falls as a key market for growth here. Big couple of reasons here. I'm just going to switch basically presentations. This is a development we're doing, but I'm not pitching you guys on this. So what I want to point out here is, and this is all publicly available data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. So we compared Sioux Falls unemployment and household income against the national average. And we have data for Texas, Georgia, Florida as well to say, okay, well, over multiple business cycles, see when unemployment, let me zoom in, see it's from 1990 to 2020, because that's where they have the data for all of this. And household income is from before 2000 all the way to 2020. Right. So as you can see over here, basically what's happening is that unemployment across various cycles, right? You see this, the gold line is Sioux Falls or Minnehaha County where we're developing. And this navy blue line is the national average. We'll also share stats for Texas, Georgia, and Florida, which support our thesis here. Unemployment across the business cycle is consistently lower. You see, when you see these spikes from 2000 a little bit onwards, why is that spike there? Because the economy around September 11 was, not doing very well. So national average also, there is higher unemployment. But as you can see, the difference between these is stark. I mean, unemployment in a bad time is roughly about 3%, right? Then we go to the 2008 crisis, which is the worst crisis in the last, God knows what, close to 90 years after the Great Depression, right? You can see big spike up in unemployment in the entire country, not as big of a spike up. In fact, unemployment is less than 5% in Sioux Falls. Again, boom times happen, blah, 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 blah. Now, when you have the COVID uptick, you see a big spike up over here. Not a lot of spike up over here. So for us, it's very important to understand that, look, we're investing, but what happens over the long run? How has this market performed? Then if you go to the household income section, what we see is, look, not only now is there higher household income in this county that we're developing and all our projects are, what's also happening is that the growth of this income is much higher as well. And there's many reasons for that, but a couple of the big reasons are, look, this is a very well-diversified economy. We've got healthcare, we've got financial services, we've got higher education, very big research-based universities, we've got logistics, we've got food processing. But the most important thing is there is hardly any energy. So there's not a lot of volatility. Energy is not making a big enough component here. Therefore, household incomes are consistently rising. Unemployment is consistently lower. Now, let me get back, right? So that's why for our development aspect of our portfolio, we have acquisitions as well. We do something like $100, $120 million of acquisitions a year. We can definitely talk about that. On the development side, this is the key market for us. And we have a pipeline of close to about 1,000 units right now that we're developing and delivering in the next 1.5 years. Now, we've got a couple of case studies here, right? This is not our first development, but a development of ours, the Wealth Heights, we closed in November. And again, I want to point out here that because we have such great and deep relationships with local banks, various lenders, in November, as you all know, rates had spiked up. So housing and urban development, which is potentially, I think, the cheapest rates for multifamily because the government subsidizes it, right? We're at about 5.5% at that time. We worked with a local bank to close this for 4.95% fixed rate debt for 5 years, right? 5 years, 4.95% fixed rate debt. Why could we do that? We've got a great track record, we've got great relationships, and we perform. So when lenders see you're performing, they're going to cut you deals where other people might not be getting cut deals. This is Blue on Lorraine. This is our Class A development. This is being delivered in late August, early September. We are basically in this, our fixed rate debt is 3.24%. That's not a typo, 3.24% fixed, 5 years. How are we able to get this when even HUD is higher? Again, it's all relationships and track record, right? This deal, we're about to sell this deal. Investors are going to easily net over 30% IRR. We've refinanced this deal twice in about 3 years and a couple of months of holding this. And again, why can we refinance so many times? Because my personal opinion is that a lot of these people that just flip assets in 12 months, while on paper, it looks like a very high IRR, right? Because IRR is a time-sensitive measurement of returns. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. And we don't want to do that because typically we're also one of the biggest investors, if not the biggest investor in our own projects. So what we want to do is we want to refinance as much as we can because all those proceeds that when we refinance, they go back to investors, they're all tax-free. Y'all are not paying any taxes on them, right? So we like to refinance, take as much of that out in a sustainable, risk-managed fashion, return it back to investors so that you as an investor can decide basically how to best utilize that money. So this is why I'm always of the opinion that, these quick fix and flips that people are doing in 12 months, 14 months, yeah, that's not a sustainable model and you're playing with fire at that time. And our track record speaks to us saying, hey, that's just not our business model. We like to refinance. We like to return a lot of money back to our investors and for them to take the best decision with their money because it's your money. You should decide what happens with your money. This is another transaction, Brighton Farms. We got it at about 16.2 million. Even right now, I mean, we might sell it this year, but we're going to easily net out over 30-35% net IRR. And again, we refinanced this once last year, actually, and we returned close to about 2/3 of investors' capital back to them. Again, why do we do this? Because look, when we refinance, it's tax-free dollars. Y'all take it. If you want to invest in our deals, great. You got another deal, great. It's your money. You should take it. And the earlier we can return a big portion of your capital back, but still have you as an equity investor so that you can enjoy more upside. That's basically what our purpose is. This is a deal, Lakewood Oaks. We actually sold this deal, I think in October 2021. Yeah, this is a great deal for us. Our investors made a lot of money, but most importantly, what we were able to do is significantly enhance the profile of this community and really provide a better elevated experience for all the residents here. So, that being said, I mean, y'all can reach us at Boardwalk Wealth, BOARD, walkwealth.com. My phone number is there. But what I'd like to do, Ryan, is open the floor so people can ask questions, because I feel that's where the real value is added.
Yeah, absolutely. Great presentation. I appreciate the depth, and Sioux Falls is definitely a market that most are unfamiliar with. The Texas, Florida, Georgia, all those are pretty familiar to the community, but
Yeah,
South
and look, the
Dakota.
deal is we own assets in Texas, Georgia, Florida, right?
Yeah.
We're not buying anything in Texas. We might buy a couple of distressed deals in Florida. The problem is, you guys don't really hear this from the operator side. I'm an operator, I'll tell you this. The problem in Texas right now is your taxes are getting reassessed at 30, 40, 50% every year. And Texas, as it is one of the highest property taxes states in the country. I mean, I live in Dallas. I love Texas, but that's the reality of the situation, right? Because everybody says, oh, it's a low tax state. And that's completely BS. Because if the government doesn't take state income tax from you, the government has to make their money somewhere else. And typically they just jack up property taxes. So Texas has a huge problem with taxes, and then insurance. And Florida has a problem with taxes, but their insurance is, I mean, it's impossible to get insurance in Florida. So now you're seeing guys that are paying $2,000-$3,000 per unit. I mean, it used to be $600 per unit in insurance, and that's killing people, not just with refinances, but just the entire deals. So a lot of guys are in trouble, they're in distress, and they just can't escape. So that's why we always try to focus on markets where, the puck is going to, where the growth is happening, as opposed to where it's happened. Because if you're going and say a Dallas deal or an Austin deal, again, I love Dallas. I'm a big proponent of Dallas, right? The problem is you're in a very crowded field, and that asset price is being bid up all the time. And we're not really trying to play that game. We're trying to play the game of, we want to be in an unfair fight. Unfair for the other party, not for us, right? We want to be in an unfair fight where we have an advantage, either whether it's operations, either whether it's capital, either it's the ability to close. So that's why focusing on specific niches and submarkets is very important, as opposed to a blanket statement of, hey, I'll do this and I won't do that.
Yes, absolutely. Question here on your development deals. How has the actual construction timeline compared to what you've projected?
I love this question.
Okay, and then
I'm gonna read this. You know why I love this question? Go ahead, but I love this question. Yeah.
Oh, you see it. So yeah, are you delivering on projects on timeline?
Yes, exactly. I love this question because this is a question I get asked, and I tell people, look, talk is cheap and actions speak louder than words. On Blue on Lorraine, we said we were going to deliver by late September. We're delivering late August to early September. People said, I have lots and lots and lots of syndicator friends. Guys, you've got to realize, the reason why I get excited about this is because you've got to realize a lot of guys feel if they know how to run a spreadsheet, somehow they know how to be a developer, they know how to be a janitor, they know how to be a scientist, they know how to be an engineer. And the real work, as you all realize, the real work doesn't work like that. I personally know a lot of my friends that had no experience in development, and they thought, well, I've done a couple of value add deals. How hard can it be? And now basically it's 2 or 3 years into it, and they don't have anything to show for it. And then their investors can't do anything. We are delivering not only on time, our third partner, because we have a partner, Dustin, that's how Ryan and I got connected, very valuable partner, super experienced developer. Our third partner, Caleb, is an actual builder. And the other thing that I like to point out is that we all sign on the loan. A lot of these guys that you hear that are doing developments, they're not signing on the loan. And the reason why they're not signing on the loan is very simple. Number one is they don't have a balance sheet, so they don't have adequate assets. And number two, when you're doing a development deal as sponsors, we are signing on recourse debt, which means that in the chance something goes awry, the lender has access to our personal balance sheet, our homes, and all of that sort of stuff. And the reason why we're able to do it is because we are delivering these projects on time. Even during COVID, when people were saying, hey, I can't source my materials, everything is super expensive. Yeah, we saw a little bit of spike up, but the reason why we were able to complete our projects in time and deliver them on time, value add and development, which we're doing, is the fact that we have established systems and processes in place. We have an established team in place that does all of this thing. I have one of my partners, Dustin, I don't know, he logged in as Omar Khan. That's kind of surprising. Dustin showed up. He's in the car. So I told him, hey, why don't you get to the office and we can talk. But yeah, we're delivering all of our projects on time. They are all below budget. And the reason why we can do this is because we have a team that is specialist in all the areas and we sign on all the loans, basically. So there is ample skin in the game, basically.
Great. There's no other active questions in the Q&A. If anybody has any, I know that development is something new that a lot of people don't have a ton of experience in. So it's good to hear those controls and why those controls are working for you on your development deals. I know some are a little bit nervous about for those very same facts, being able to deliver the project, uncertainty in the economy and some of those things that you addressed. So
Guys, and you should be, by the way, those are very valid concerns, because right now I know a lot of guys that do not have the expertise, but try to go into development, land banking, and similar more esoteric projects. And if you don't have the right talent stack in each vertical, right? You can't just be, say, good at accounting or just good at modeling or good at operations. You need to have the highest quality talent at every aspect in your business. If you don't have that, guys, these please do not give your money to those people. I have seen so many of my own investors that have put money into these projects because some guy has a great LinkedIn or Instagram presence. Well, guys, Instagram is not an accurate reflection of reality, because eventually everybody can't be a leader. Somebody has to be a follower, right? Somebody has to go do the work, right? And you'll see this as well. You guys are an informed crowd, that the work aspect a lot of people are lacking on. It's a talking aspect everybody's a big deal on, right? Working is hard. So look at people that are working.
I love that term, talent stack. We all think about the capital stack, but talent stack is so important, and making sure you have a well-rounded team that can deliver on those business.
Oh, I love this question. Whoever Adam is, I like this question again. So, how easy or challenging is it to work with the municipality when it comes to zoning and rezoning when you purchase the land? I'm assuming you don't bring an offering to investors on this zoning, planning, permits, around. Yep. 100% right, Adam. I'm going to start at the second part of your question, come to the first part. Now, the obvious caveat here is, look, we also do value add acquisitions, right? So there, on that book aspect of our business, zoning is not a problem, right? So in the development aspect of business, we do not bring an offering to our investors unless it's shovel ready. Like, again, I'm not pitching you on my deal, so don't think I'm pitching you. We've got a couple of developments right now that we are raising money for. And the only reason why we are even bringing it to our investors is because they're shovel ready. Like the day we close is a day basically our own entire equipment, like cranes and bulldozers and all that, they're on site ready to go, right? And the second part of your question, the first part of your question, which I'm going to answer the second part, is how easy or challenging is it to work with the municipality when it comes to zoning and rezoning when you purchase the land? So look, it can be challenging. And this is why, for instance, I've got a great team. I've got my partner, Dustin. I've got Caleb. First of all, it is challenging in the sense that, everybody wants affordable housing. Nobody wants it in their backyard. They're like, well, it's going to be in somebody's backyard. Right? I mean, we can't just magically create this land that is in nobody's backyard, but y'all get all the housing you want, right? So number one, it's hard, but when you have people that have experience doing this like us, it is slightly less hard, number one. Number two, we put our own money into all this process. So you all don't have to take basically any risk. By the time you get it, it's ready to go. And number three, look, certain municipalities are very hard. Again, I live in Dallas. Texas is considered very business friendly, but it is next to impossible to have anything approved in the city of Dallas or the outskirts. I mean, you have a better chance of winning the lottery or walking on water right now, right? So you have to be very careful in the jurisdictions where you work with, because again, a lot of projects have been delayed because sponsors said, well, how long will the permitting take? It takes 3 months. Maybe we'll assume 6 months. Guys, these things can take years if you're in either the wrong market or you don't have the right type of connections. So it's very critical to have the right connection, but if you're in the wrong market, it also doesn't help. Like if you're, God forbid, in California, best of luck.
Great question, Adam. And I think that's like you said, Omar, that's a very relevant and good to understand question too, and you guys bringing shovel ready projects, that's a game changer as opposed to not being that far along. James.
Put our own money into this, right? So we'll look at something like I showed you the pipeline, right? We have all of these things in the pipeline. We put our own money into making sure all of this stuff is done. Because, guys, just think about it this way. Any sponsor who can't even eat their own cooking, basically. Right? The guy's basically telling you that, hey, I'm not going to put my money into this, but why don't you go put your money into this, right? I mean, that's just a big red flag, right? If somebody's not willing to eat their own cooking, I mean, just come on, just understand what's going on, right? Basically.
Yep. James, I saw you had your hand raised. Should be able to.
You hear me?
Talk. Yeah, there we go.
We can hear you.
Go ahead.
Hey, Omar, thanks for taking your time with our community. We appreciate it. I love your energy, first of all. Um,
Thank you.
hey, from a passive investor's point of view, can you, since you're talking the ground up development and some value added here and everything you talked about, can you just tell me, like, when I'm looking to invest in deals, can you differentiate maybe a few factors, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4 factors that would be different in value add versus ground up in terms of indicators I, as a passive investor, could see and could look at in a value add deal versus a ground up deal when I'm maybe deciding to place capital at one or the other? Thank you.
Cool. So that's a great question. So the biggest indicator, look, the caveat here is that you've done your research and you're comfortable with the team that you're investing in, right? Because everybody always asks about deals, and I tell them, look, if y'all aren't even if you haven't done enough research, right? It's like that Abraham Lincoln thing. I think it's Abraham. Like, if you give me 6 hours to cut a tree, I'll spend the first 5 hours sharpening my axe, right? So that sort of quote, right? We've all heard that. So what I tell people is, look, I'm going to talk about details and the deal. But first, y'all have to spend the vast majority of your time vetting the team, making sure you're comfortable with the people, their capabilities, and all of that competence, right? And the 2 C's I use when I'm looking at other people's deals are character and competence. And what I tell people is, look, somebody could have the highest character in the world. They could be the most honest person, just the nicest person in the world, right? Great character, morals, right? But they're a complete idiot. Right? That's just an honest idiot. Why would you want to give your money to that guy? Because again, they don't have a personality issue, it's a professionalism issue. Right?
Sure.
Conversely, somebody could be world-class. They could be the Michael Jordan of whatever they're trying to do, right? But they just have bad morals. They're like a Bernie Madoff crook type of person, right? They're going to steal money from orphanages and that type of deal, right? Yeah, but y'all want to give your money to that crook, right? So first of all, if you're again, I'm going to get to your question. If you ask me, I mean, this is advice I give to my sister, my brother, everybody. If y'all got a finite amount of time, I would spend 90 to 95% of that on the team, understanding their backgrounds, their talent stack. And again, if your gut tells you that something's off, your gut is like 9.5 out of 10 times correct. You don't have to have a scientific reason. Now, let's come to the deal, right? From a purely mathematical point of view, right now, as an example, we are building on a return of cost, which is basically saying you take your NOI divided by the cost of construction, which is kind of like a cap rate for development, right? Right now on our on our return of cost, we are building to about a 7.7 to 8% return on cost. This means this is a new building that once it's stabilized in about 1.5 to 2 years, you're building to an 8% cap rate. A Class A new building, you're building to an 8% cap rate. I can tell you this, guys, right now. I'm in value add deals across Atlanta, a lot of Central Florida, parts of Texas. There is no Class B, Class A deal where you're buying it at an 8% cap rate. I don't care what somebody tells you, this magic unicorn does not exist. So from a mathematical point of view, you have to be building to a high return on cost, right? Which we're doing, but I'm giving you an example. That's how you compare. As an example, okay, Class A is at 8 right now, or 7.5, they're building to. I'm looking at a value add acquisition at, say, 5.25% maybe, right? If you're good, how comfortable am I with both of these things, right? Number one. Number two, typically, you also have to realize that developments are basically where a lot of the uber wealthy are basically doing. Now, again, this is not the only thing they do. They do a lot of acquisitions, they do a bunch of other things. But the reason why eventually a lot of rich people eventually end up doing a good portion of their real estate investing in developments is that the bulk of your returns are actually coming from capital appreciation. And contrary to what all the podcasters tell you, if you have a good team and you're an accredited investor, you want your returns coming from capital appreciation, because the reason is you want to shift as much of your tax burden as possible to the appreciation bucket. Okay, now this does not mean you don't get a cash flows along the way. You'll get the cash flows along the way. But if you're looking at your total returns, you're a rich person. It might not feel like it. You might not think you're rich, but you are rich if you're investing in these deals compared to the average American. Right? So you're already paying the highest amount of taxes. And people tell me, oh, I live in Texas, in Florida, there's no state income tax. I'm like, great, you can't escape the federal income tax. I mean, y'all still got to pay. The government isn't going to let you have a free ride, right? So you want to fix, again, it's portfolio management. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's wrong, right? But y'all want to take as much of the income and gains that you get in your portfolio wide to the appreciation bucket, because you're going to get taxed at a lower pace. even if you have write-offs, right? Because then you can just use more of your write-offs to go a longer way. And lastly, what you're looking at is basically what is the time horizon. So for instance, with a development, there are two types of developers. I mean, there's lots, but really it's two types. One is a merchant developer. What does a merchant developer do? A merchant developer says, hey, I'm going to build this, and right around the time it's CEO or right around the time it's built, I'm just going to sell it because I'm a builder and all I do is build and sell and build and sell, and that's what I do, right? That was never our business model, because merchant developers, they ride a wave up, right? In the boom times, they make a shit ton of money, right? But the problem is you never know. Like say, let's assume right now you start, you don't accurately know in 2 years' time where the market is going to be. Well, the market could be sideways, it could be up, it could be down. So the problem is if your entire business model is predicated on build and sell, with none of the operations and capital markets part put in between, what happens is if you typically build and you're now selling into a bear market, that's where, it's an old saying, bulls make money, bears make money, hogs get slaughtered. Right? So when you're overly greedy, you get killed. And this happens, by the way, to all of these merchant developers eventually. Eventually they build, but they have no means of operations and they get killed. For us, the business model always was build, refinance, operate, because we're doing the operations anyways in our value add position, and then seek to dispose over a period of time. That's why I told you, even with our value add deals, we're looking to refinance first, and then a couple of months or a year after that sell. Because look, the more risk we can take off the table for us, for our investors, the better that deal is for you, right? Think about it this way. Y'all made, like, say, if I tell you you can make a guaranteed 13, 14, 15%, right? Would you take that, or would you take a flyer on somebody who might make you 30% but is wrong 90% of the time? 9 out of 10 times, most people will take the guaranteed money day in and day out. The reason why they will take it is because that's cash in the bank, man. And cash in the bank is cash in the bank. So the more the risk you reduce in a deal, the better it is. So you got to realize what type of development are you doing, merchant developer or merchant and operator. Our model is merchant and operator because I at least do not have a crystal ball that can accurately predict where the economy is going to be when I deliver a product. Like the second decimal point, I don't know that. Right? So that's what you got to look at. Return of cost. You've got to look at basically what markets you're in. You've got to look at basically what the business model is. But the most important thing is the team and your analysis of the team.
Great explanation. Great question.
Good insight. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thanks, James. One more question from Adam here, and I'll let you go ahead and read that. It's probably easier for you.
Yeah, is Dustin on the line? Hey, Dustin, are you available? Because he's a good partner.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to read this question to you, and I want Dustin to answer because he's also, I don't want to hog all the light, right? So look, Dustin, the question is, can you explain a little bit about your land acquisition process? I understand the value component of building Class A or Class B at the same or less cost to existing inventory in the market. Specifically, I am wondering if you're able to create value in the land acquisition process by purchasing at a lower cost basis than market, and then building, and then you have this equity in the land, right? Basically. So can you answer the land acquisition process and how you've been able to acquire land at below cost basis in the market, and how does that build equity for you in the project?
Okay, yes, I can explain. Land acquisition is all about relationships. And if you don't have the relationships, a lot of times there'll be an LOI on the piece of land before it even goes to market. So we've got deep relationships from developing over 20 years in this area. And we have created pretty good relationships by being decent people to work with and having fun with our subs and our other contacts. People like to work with us, and that helps a lot. But we can add value to the land, and it's not necessarily that you're paying under market for it. It's more like this is what the market value is because it's raw land, and the rawer the land is when we get it, the more value that we can add to it as we go. But the main thing you got to understand is the majority of the value is created by placing the business or the asset, the cash flowing asset on the piece of land. It's not actually in improving the land. The biggest improvement is the actual building. So the vast majority, 20, 25% of the value that you create comes from just putting the thing in in place. And you automatically force appreciation on the land as well by developing it. The land all of a sudden becomes more valuable, and the land around your land also tends to become a little bit more valuable as you stabilize. So that's the way you force appreciate. But I don't think that we get land necessarily under market very often, because there's 10 other developers competing with us for the land. But paying market value for land is not a big deal because it's such a small, minute percentage of the land. But we will go in though, and we'll buy a piece of land for say $5 a foot because it's not fully entitled yet. And then we go in and we get it fully entitled with building permits, and now we can sell it back for $6 a foot. So I mean, we can make little increases in income, but when you look at the overall picture, the cost of the land is like maybe 10%. No, more like 5 to 10% of the project. It's such a small factor that gaining value on the land isn't where most of your money is. And sometimes, and in fact, lots of times I found that overpaying for the land and paying above marketplace price just to secure the land is worth it, because a lot of people don't understand that, what is actually top land. So if you know this land is the top land and you're willing to pay $1 more a square foot, it almost has no impact on the profitability of the project. And a lot of times those places tend to lease up much sooner than you anticipate and hold a lot more value in the long term. So it might appear that you're overpaying at first, but in the long term, you've proven that you didn't actually overpay at all. You added a lot more value to that. So yes, tons of value can be added in the land, but it's not necessarily because you're getting it under market. It's just what you're placing on that land.
And one more thing that I'd like to add over there also, as Dustin mentioned, a lot of the value creation that's happening is not just in the price at which you get it. The value creation is also happening in how you take, say, a raw piece of land and push it to the best and highest use. Because think about it this way, you've got this piece of land, right? You could build, like, say, a gas station on it as an example, right? Or let's assume all things are equal. You could build a 30-story skyscraper on it, where each of the condos are selling for $5 million, right? So taking the land to the best and highest usage, that determines basically how the value is created as opposed to just the price of land. Because a lot of guys have bought land and they don't understand the zoning entitlement and pushing to the best and highest usage, and they might put something that is suboptimal for that piece of land, right? Like you could, for instance, put improvements on that land and make 5x more money. Well, if they just don't, but you still got to do the work, right? I mean, if you don't do the work, then that's just a theoretical price. Number two, the whole reason why you're able to get all these accelerated depreciation benefits and cost seg, these 40, 60, 70% write-offs, is because the improvements on the land. Because look, when you have a building, if you look at your cost seg and everything, right? Really, there's two components: land, improvements. That's it. That's the only way, right? And within improvements now, something depreciates at this level, something depreciates at that level. But the lower typically the value of your land, the higher the write-offs you also get. And because you're creating so much value, therefore you get higher write-offs. So in a nutshell, the process of value creation is not just in the price you pay, but understanding what is the best and highest usage. As an example, you could pay $1 more for say per square foot for a price of land, but your improvements on it could generate $5 more per square foot of land, right? So understanding that process is more important than just looking at, say, hey, I bought it at this and you bought it at that.
Great stuff. James, I know you had your hand raised, but it looks like you threw the question in the Q&A. Can you talk to the land entitlement risk and the drivers behind that?
Dustin, do you want to take that?
Yeah, land entitlement risk is almost 100% in the hands of the city. You can fight the city and go against the city and sometimes win. It's very hard. So what we like to do is choose land that the city wants us to entitle it in a certain way, so we're not fighting anybody. Even that process can be fairly painful, even when you're doing exactly what the city wants. But I've found very, very around this area with our connections and the way that we do business, I found very, very little risk in the entitlement process because we don't buy anything that we think is going to be super, super tough to entitle. And also, if we do want to buy something that's going to be tough to entitle, we bring the whoever owns the land on board for the ride with us. So we'll give them a PA or a LOI where that says, we're not giving you any money until this thing's entitled. And once it becomes entitled, then we waive all of our due diligence and our clauses and that sort of thing. And some places you can't do that. Some places the market's so hot, that's not how it works. But where we deal with it, that's how the market is. We don't even put hard money down or anything like that on these parcels of land. But when we negotiate them, our reputation is so strong that we have like a $10,000 earnest money check. That's not hard. It's refundable, by the way. And that's how we put $1 million piece of land under contract. It's the way that we do it is very seamless, and it removes almost all of the risk.
Great
James-
question and great answer on the risk mitigation there.
Yeah, just to add to that.
Go ahead, James.
Sorry to interrupt. That's why I've got that on top of my head. So you're saying it's with the city, and that was my understanding. Not to get too granular here or anything, but does it? I mean, I would imagine every municipality is different, and
Yes.
is that like the city council, or is the construct of the city? Of course, is going to determine who decides that. But what kind of if you were looking at a project where you did have to re-entitle the land for a different type of use. What type of activities do you engage with the city, like with the board and a vote and all that kind of stuff? What would that
Yes.
process look like? And is there a lot of success? And again, this is probably municipality specific in trying to do that. I mean, you answered a little bit, but I'm just curious a little bit more detail on that end.
Yes. So the city always has an actual plan in place. And if they don't, that just means they're very green and they're growing probably more rapidly than they want to. Sometimes you'll get some of these cities north of Texas that don't really have a growth plan. They're just winging it. But most cities have a growth plan. They know exactly what they want, where they want it, where the path of progress is, where they want multifamily, where they don't want multifamily, where there's blighted areas that they want fixed up. So when you can go into the engineering office and you can ask questions, you talk about certain parcels. You say, hey, I'm looking at doing this parcel, buying this parcel. That's for sale. We want to split it up, and this is what we want to do. And they'll tell you right away, hey, that goes against the entire city plan, or yes, that fits great into the city plan. This will be easy to get pushed through. We can help you. Then you start your process with, after that, but you could go through the engineering office first and get a lot of questions answered as far as what the progress looks like. Then you go through the city process. That means you usually apply for either a building permit or, not necessarily a building permit. They have each place has different ways to trigger the process. But you go in and you apply, and then you start going through different planning and zoning meetings, and they'll say they'll have one meeting, and then they need to have a second meeting, and sometimes a third meeting because they have all these public disclosures they have to make. And so that can take 2-3 months. And then when you get done with that, then it goes to the city council and they meet on it. And in the meantime, you have to remember, each person doesn't really know anything about your project, and it's up to you to tell them exactly what the project is, but there's really no forum for you to go and tell them. And so you have to try and get a hold of all these people to try and tell them your vision, your project, or you can hire a firm to do it. I like to do it all myself. It's way more personable. And it's much easier when you're investing in your own city and you're telling them, that they already know what you're capable of, what you've done. So they know what you're going to do just by your past history. So they want to work with certain people, and they push certain people's stuff through a lot faster than other people's just because they trust them. But yeah, it's a long, lengthy process to get something entitled. And a lot of times we buy stuff that's it's already zoned and entitled for what we're going to use it for. We just have to finalize the process, and it maybe takes 3 months at the most, but you can take years. I worked on projects. I got a project going, and we're still working on it for over 2 years because the historical society is trying to put their mitts in there. And so you could also, depending on where the piece is, you could have historical society dealing with it. and then whatever other governmental agency could step in. So we've done some where we work with the city and with the historical society, and the planning took like 1.5 years, and that was a project that the city wanted, that's in their plan. So I'd say the success is very good, and you will find out really quickly within your first month or two how hard your battle's going to be.
Sure. Okay.
But I have a really high success rate, but there's a lot of things I don't consider failures because I just research them and then I throw them away after like, a couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, that idea ain't going to work anymore. So I don't really pursue it. If we really, really pursue something, our success rate is extremely high, 95% probably, or higher maybe.
And James, the other deal also is that typically all of this is happening in the background, right? So what y'all see when you see a deal on the development side from us and other reputable developers is y'all don't see all of this because, well, frankly, that's our job. Right? I mean, all of it's our job, but this basically, by the time it gets to you, it's got to be ready to go, right? Because otherwise, why would you take on all this risk? Or conversely, if it's not ready to go and somebody has to really sweeten the pot. Now, typically, we feel like we could sweeten the pot, but we just don't want to take a risk, right? I just don't want to make a promise that I have no control over that promise, right? Like I'm telling you, hey, it's going to happen, but my fate is dependent on some bureaucrat sitting in an office somewhere, right? So
Sure.
Typically, by the time y'all see this thing, it's basically ready to go. Like you push a button, you're ready to go, sort of deal. But all of this stuff is happening in the background. And this is why, when I showed that development, first of all, when I talked about risk management, and then I showed you the development pipeline, right? All of these things tie together because it's an overarching framework. Number one, why are we chasing only certain value add deals or certain development deals? Because we can minimize the risk. How are we minimizing the risk? In value added is one play, in developments like the land is close to entitlement. We have a good relationship. We're getting all of this through because we're putting our money into all of these entitlement projects. So what we don't want to do is just keep throwing money into a black hole, right? And it's just a well, and you just keep throwing money and nothing comes out. So we also have to take calculated bets that if we look at a piece of land and we've got to go through this process, well, how arduous is this process going to be? And God forbid, you're in the Communist Republic of China, or sorry, California, right? Then best of luck, man. It's not a money issue. They are just anti-business, right? So you got to pick and choose your jurisdictions as well. Like if you're I live in the Park Cities, Preston Hollow area of Dallas, right? Dude, best of freaking luck trying to develop anything here. You will have all of the lawyers, all of the soccer moms, and all of the homeowners in all of Preston Hollow and Park Cities come up and never let you build anything, right? So you have to pick and choose your battles correctly as well. But again, y'all don't see this because by the time it comes to you, it's shovel ready to go.
Thank you for that insight. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you. And great questions, James. Daniel also put a comment in there that came up right after the previous question about checking the zoning code. I don't see any more hands raised or questions in the chat. You guys did a fantastic job. Appreciate all your insight. What was a scouting report to learn about you guys turned into a lunch and learn about development, and it's really great content. So I think it was James earlier that said, I love your energy. And Dustin, thanks for jumping on and adding value here to the conversation. I appreciate everybody putting questions in the chat and asking questions. These are all pertinent to how you evaluate these type of deals. Development is new for most of us, but you guys did a fantastic job. Got a comment in here from Daniel. Great stuff. So
Thank you.
With that, we'll get this recorded. Thanks everybody for jumping on. Thanks to Omar and Dustin for great content, great energy today, great educational value too. So if you are interested in learning more about Boardwalk, Omar's got his email and website up here. I'd encourage you to reach out and dig deeper, learn more about the team, and we will stay connected. Omar and Dustin, thanks again for your time, and everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Dustin. You bet. Thanks for joining.
Bye.